of interest that we've got for you today, we take a long, hard look at the Mudra Yojna 10 years after it has been launched. Very interesting data which tells you very interesting stories about a lot of interesting theories that are floated in our country about who really corners the country's resources. We will also tell you about Bangladesh and its very quick descent into complete madness. There was a protest for Palestine in Bangladesh yesterday, but guess what actually happened? They discovered that their biggest enemy is not Israel or Hamas or Netanyahu, it's actually fried chicken. And finally, we'll tell you what the real status of transparency is when it comes to the judges, not only of our Supreme Court, but also in our high courts. But first up, the big story today, we are talking about the Mudra Yojna, the Prime Minister Mudra Yojna, which marked its 10th anniversary today. Today marks 10 years of the PM Mudra Yojna. It was rolled out in April 2015. To mark the day, the Prime Minister met beneficiaries of the scheme that aims at giving loans to small businesses to help set up grassroots entrepreneurship. Don't worry, this is not some pain we are singing to a government scheme. Far from it. What we actually are looking at is who is the Mudra loan helping. And here is what emerges. First of all, the aim of this Mudra scheme was to ensure that even people who are first-time entrepreneurs from a modest background, people who are in villages, people who are in tier 3, tier 4 cities can get a loan. What really helps in this is the fact that Mudra loans are collateral free. You do not have to give a collateral to the bank. So even someone who doesn't have significant assets to put up against the loan, you don't necessarily need to have a house which you can put up as collateral, you will still get this loan. How has that worked out so far? Well, in the last 10 years, 52 crore loans have been given out, totaling to an amount of 32.61 lakh crore rupees. The target of this scheme also becomes quite clear when you look at who the key beneficiaries have been for the last 10 years. More than half of these loans in the last decade have been availed by who? By women. They stand at 68% of the beneficiaries. 50% of the beneficiaries come from the SC, ST, OBC background, and 11% are minorities. Today, it is a section of these people who were face to face with the Prime Minister talking about their last 10 years and their life.
मुद्रा योजना ये कोई मोदी की वाहवाही के लिए नहीं है। मुद्रा योजना मेरे देश के नौजवानों को अपने पैरों पर खड़े रहने की हिम्मत और उनका हौसला बुलंद होता चले। मैं रोजी रोटी कमाने के लिए क्यों भटकूंगा, मैं 10 लोगों को रोजी रोटी दूंगा, ये मिजाज पैदा करना है। ये आपके अगल बगल के लोगों के अनुभव में आता है?
यस सर, मेरा जो गांव है गणेश धाम बाचावानी, मेरा एक गांव है भोपाल से लगभग 100 किलोमीटर। वहां कम से कम 2-3 लोगों ने, किसी ने कोई ऑनलाइन डिजिटल की शॉप खोली है, किसी ने कोई फोटो स्टूडियो का लिया, उन्होंने भी 1-1, 2-2 लाख का लोन लिया और मैंने उनकी हेल्प भी किया है सर।
आप दिल्ली पहली बार आई?
यस सर।
वाह।
और मैं फ्लाइट में भी पहली बार बैठी हूँ सर।
अच्छा।
इतनी गरीबी थी मेरे यहाँ कि मैं अगर एक टाइम तो दूसरा बार सोचना पड़ता था, लेकिन सर बहुत हिम्मत जुटाई। क्योंकि मैं किसान परिवार से हूँ। आप
बिल्कुल स्वस्थ होकर के।
क्योंकि मैं किसान परिवार से हूँ तो मुझे बहुत परेशानी का सामना करना पड़ता था। तो मैं अपने हस्बैंड से बात की कि क्यों ना हम लोग कुछ लोन लेकर के कुछ अपना ही बिजनेस शुरू करते हैं। तो मेरे हस्बैंड ने बोला कि हाँ तुम बिल्कुल अच्छे से, हमें करना चाहिए। तो मेरे हस्बैंड दोस्त वगैरह से बात किए तो उन लोगों ने बताया कि मुद्रा लोन आपके लिए बहुत अच्छा रहेगा, आप करिए।
तो आप सर अभी 1 महीने का कितना कमा सकती है?
सर 60,000 तक हो जाता है।
अच्छा, 60,000 रुपया। तो परिवार को विश्वास हो गया?
बिल्कुल सर, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। आज मैं आत्मनिर्भर हूँ आपकी इस योजना की वजह से।
चलिए, बहुत बढ़िया काम किया आपने।
थैंक यू सर।
आप जब दुबई से वापिस आए तो आपका प्लान क्या था?
नहीं, वापस आया कि मैं ये मुद्रा लोन के बारे में मेरे को इन्फॉर्मेशन मिला था, इसलिए मैं वो कंपनी रिसाइन किया है।
अच्छा, आपको वहीं पता चला था?
और रिजाइन करके इधर आके फिर ये मुद्रा लोन को अप्लाई करके ये शुरू किया है।
एक घर पर सूर्य घर का काम पूरा करने में कितना दिन लगता है?
अभी मैक्सिमम 2 दिन।
2 दिन में एक घर का काम कर लेते हैं।
काम करता है।
आपके सामने एक बहुत छोटे शहर रायबरेली की महिला व्यापारी खड़ी है जो इस बात का प्रमाण है कि आपके सहयोग और समर्थन से जितना फायदा एमएसएमईज को हो रहा है, और मतलब मेरे लिए बहुत ही भावनात्मक समय है यहाँ पे आना, और हम आपसे वादा करते हैं कि हम भारत को विकसित भारत मिलकर बनाएंगे। जिस तरीके का आप सहयोग और बिल्कुल बच्चों की तरीके ट्रीट कर रहे हैं आप एमएसएमईज को, चाहे हमें लाइसेंस लेने में जो प्रॉब्लम्स आती थी गवर्नमेंट से वो नहीं होती हैं, या फंडिंग को लेकर।
आप चुनाव लड़ना चाहती हैं?
नहीं सर, ये सिर्फ मेरी मन की बात है जो मैंने आपसे बोली। जी।
ये मुद्रा योजना नहीं, ये झूठा योजना बन करके रह गई है। समय समय पर जो आंकड़े सरकार बताती है, लेकिन वो आंकड़े कहां से आते हैं, किस मेथोडोलॉजी से आते हैं, किस तरीके से वो प्राप्त करते हैं, उसकी कोई जानकारी नहीं मिलती है। क्या सच में 52 करोड़ लोगों को मुद्रा योजना का पैसा मिला? यदि ये सत्य है तो मुद्रा ऋण लेने वालों ने अगर 2 लोगों को भी रोजगार दिया तो पूरे देश में बेरोजगारी लगभग शून्य होनी चाहिए। क्योंकि अगर योजना 52 करोड़ लोगों तक पहुंची और 52 करोड़ में अगर एक प्राप्त ने 2 लोगों को भी नौकरी दी है तो सोचो आंकड़ा कितना बड़ा बनता है। मुद्रा योजना में लोन लेने के रूप में बांटा 33 लाख करोड़ रुपया किसके खाते में गया है? ये 10 साल की योजना में कोई छोटा मोटा पैसा नहीं इकट्ठा हुआ है या बांटा नहीं गया। 33 लाख करोड़ रुपया बांटा गया है। क्या इन खातों की कभी जांच परख या लेखा परीक्षण या कहीं ऑडिट हुआ है? क्या इनके द्वारा समर्थित या शुरू हुए उपक्रमों में कभी लाभ कमाया और दिखाया गया हो? क्या सरकार को इनसे कभी इनकम टैक्स प्राप्त हुआ?
Well, data will be able to tell you whether it's Mudra Yojna or Jhuta Yojna. As with every government scheme, this also is being questioned. What is its efficacy? Has it really benefited anyone at all? But as is popularly said in Hindi, Aat Kangan ko aarsi kya, or Pratyaksh kim pramanam, what is in front of you doesn't really need evidence. And guess what is in front of us? Data of the Mudra scheme from the time of its inception tells us a story. And that story has a rather ironic twist. Guess beneficiaries in which state got the maximum amount by way of loans in the last 10 years put together. It's a state where one of the main opposition parties to the BJP has been in government. Yes, we're talking about Tamil Nadu. Beneficiaries in Tamil Nadu availed of a total of 3.23 lakh crore rupees worth of loans. This amount is nearly 10% of the entire Mudra scheme amount disbursed so far. At second position is Uttar Pradesh with a disbursal of 3.14 lakh crores. But in third and fourth place are again 2 opposition ruled states that are getting the most benefits from the Mudra scheme. Entrepreneurs in Karnataka get over 3 lakh crore rupees worth of loans, which is nearly 9.5% of the total disbursal. And small businesses in West Bengal availed of loans worth 2.82 lakh crore rupees between the years 2015 and 2025. Both these states got almost 9% each of the total disbursals that have been done since the scheme came into place. Just to again put this in perspective, of the total loans availed under the Mudra scheme in the last 10 years, almost 30% are by beneficiaries who are living in states where opposition parties are in power. Clearly, people can look beyond the politics. They know whether something is Mudra or Jhuta. By the way, the data of the Mudra loans also busts another political claim that you will frequently hear, that states in the north of India are gobbling up all of our country's resources and finances. So let's see what happened with the Mudra loans. Does that theory really hold true? Again, it's Tamil Nadu here that has only 6% population but got almost 10% of the total loans. Karnataka has only 5% of our population, but it got 9.32% of the Mudra amount. The same story repeats itself in TMC-ruled West Bengal, where the share of the loans is 8.71%. Its population share is only 7.54%. And the much reviled Uttar Pradesh, which is held up as the villain every time for being most populous and always accused of taking up all the money of our country, its population is 16.5% of the entire population of India, but people in UP got only 9.7% of the total Mudra loan amount of the last 10 years. Again, the point is simply this: every single thing is fair game for politics in our country, but one must never lose sight of the fact that all citizens have claim over our country's resources, especially the most disempowered. And when a scheme actually manages to deliver on that aim of reaching women, backward classes, minorities, when it manages to bridge that artificial gap that is created between the north and south of India, two things need to be said. Credit where is due, and people who avail of schemes are far, far more intelligent than our naysayer politicians. From India, let's turn our focus to Bangladesh. It's always a country that sees plenty of action, and on most occasions, the action and the news from there is never good. It was meant to be a pro-Palestine protest to show solidarity with Gaza, but the anti-Israel marches in Bangladesh on Monday ended up showing just how bizarre present-day existence in Bangladesh is for most of its people. The unrest spanned multiple districts such as Bogra, Sylhet, Cox's Bazar and Chittagong, with protesters denouncing Israeli military actions in Gaza and urging a boycott of all Israeli products. In Bogra, large crowds, primarily students, gathered in the city center to express outrage over the violence in Gaza. University students took to the streets in solidarity with the people of Palestine, called for an immediate end to what they call the Israeli genocide in Gaza. These students were soon joined in by people belonging to various political, social, cultural outfits, and as later became apparent, plenty of loonies. In the capital city of Dhaka, protesters marched to the US embassy, condemning the US support to Israeli operations in Gaza and chanting slogans to free Palestine. Stopped by police barricades, they then laid siege to the embassy and raised slogans against the US President and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
এই জায়গা আছে গাজায় যে গণহত্যা চালানো হয়েছে এটা বিশ্বব্যাপী একটা প্রতিবাদ স্বরূপ একটা স্ট্রাইকের ঘোষণা দেওয়া হয়েছে, গণ আন্দোলনের ঘোষণা দেওয়া হয়েছে। তাই সেই প্রতিবাদ স্বরূপ আমরা এই জায়গায় উপস্থিত হয়েছি টিএসসি কে কেন্দ্র করে ঢাকা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়কে।
এখানে আসছি কারণ হচ্ছে যে ইসরায়েল প্যালেস্টাইনের প্রতি যে অন্যায় করতেছে এগুলো আমি জীবনে কখনো দেখি নাই যে একজন মানুষ আরেকজন মানুষের প্রতি কিভাবে করে, রাতে ঘুমাইতে পারেন ওরা কি করে, এগুলা বাচ্চার মাথা নাই, এগুলো দেখলে একটা সুস্থ মস্তিষ্কের মানুষ জীবনে ঘুমাইতে পারে না। এগুলো বন্ধ করার জন্য এখানে আসছি।
প্যালেস্টাইনে যে জেনোসাইড চলতেছে এটার বিরুদ্ধে একটা আর্টিস্ট হিসেবে আমার যে দায়িত্ব যতটুকু পারি আমি যতটুকু আমার পক্ষে সম্ভব, এই জন্য আমি এখানে আন্দোলনে এসেছি যেন আমি একটু হলেও প্যালেস্টাইনের পক্ষে সাপোর্ট আছে এটা জানাতে পারি সবাই।
But then the inevitable happened in what seems to be a pattern with Bangladesh. What started out as a students' protest pretty much turned into a rally of, by and for Islamists. And how do we know that? Because they announced themselves. An ISIS flag was unfurled along with one of Hizb ut-Tahrir. Hizb ut-Tahrir, an organization that has been banned by the Indian government. Just FYI, it's the same Hizb ut-Tahrir that's a global Islamist organization that seeks to unite all Muslim majority countries under a single caliphate, and they want that caliphate to be governed by the Sharia law. When one terror organization is there, how can another be far behind? So some worthies in this protest decided to bring Al-Qaeda chief and 9/11 mastermind Osama bin Laden to the party as well. There you see it. These so-called student protesters with posters of Osama bin Laden. And to top it all, and maybe lend some diversity to the proceedings, a Nazi flag was also unfurled for good measure. I'm assuming that this was meant to terrify the Israel who were watching. But believe it or not, even this is not the worst of it. After a display of terror symbols, Nazi flags, these protesters then decided to ratchet up the action, and who did they identify as the ultimate enemy? Fried chicken. That's right. Across cities in Bangladesh, demonstrators perceived to have links with Israel. And the organizations, the businesses they identified included who? Bata, Kentucky Fried Chicken, which literally has Kentucky in its name, and Pizza Hut. At one place, a Bata showroom was lit on fire, and at another, a Bata showroom was looted. Vandals were seen taking home whatever chappal they could lay their hands on. Bata, in an official statement, denounced the attacks on its stores. It said that these attacks were misplaced and they were triggered by false narratives of the company having Israeli ownership. In Sylhet, protesters attacked a KFC outlet in the Mirbox Tola area, reportedly smashing bottles of soft drinks, which they again said were Israeli. Bangladeshi authorities so far have detained 49 individuals in connection with these recent incidents, and local police confirmed that 2 cases have been filed so far. It does bear mention that while all of this was happening, the police was nowhere to be seen. But even if we keep the ownership of this company aside, who is to tell these loonies that even if that brand was American, like in the case of KFC, the franchise outlet which they vandalized operated in Bangladesh, added to the Bangladeshi economy, the owners of the franchise paid taxes in Bangladesh, and the employees at these outlets were all their fellow Bangladeshi citizens. But anyway, who are we even using reason with over here? It's been close to a year now that Sheikh Hasina's government has been overthrown, and Bangladesh has made it pretty clear that they are not really operating here in the realm of logic or reason. They've made it clear to the world where they stand and who calls the shots. The cause may be different every time, but the outcome is always the same: mindless, pointless, and foolish violence. As is famously said, when people insist on revealing themselves, we should just let them. All right, it's time now for a very quick break, but on the other side, we will tell you what is the real status of transparency when it comes to our higher judiciary. Don't go anywhere.
I need expert performance. I need my career.
What does it take to be the greatest in the world? There is one thing which truly sets you apart. Your inner strength. Sodium DMD Rebar. True inner strength.
Smash your way to glory at the News 9 Corporate Badminton Championship. Get ready for the ultimate badminton showdown. News 9 presents the biggest corporate championship, a battle of skill, speed and supremacy. Cash prize of 6 lakh rupees across categories. Venue, Pulela Gopichand Badminton Academy, Hyderabad. Dates, May 9th to May 11th. A chance to showcase your talent and make a mark. The court is set. Are you ready? Register now.
Welcome back. You're watching In Your Interest, and the big story that has continued to make waves ever since a pile of cash was discovered at the house of a Delhi High Court judge on the night of Holi. Supreme Court judges since then may have unanimously agreed to declare their assets, but is there going to be this push towards transparency percolating down to all of our courts? Concerns about judicial integrity have been widespread after cash piles were found at the residence of High Court Judge Yashwant Verma. Massive sums of these cash were found after an incident of fire at Justice Verma's official residence. Since then, questions have been asked repeatedly: should all of our judges declare their assets? Should they be completely transparent of what exactly is their financial status? Well, the Supreme Court judges, in a landmark move, said on the 1st of April that they will all be declaring all of their assets. But what is the state of our high courts? At present, 769 judges serve across 25 high courts in our country. Yet, 9 95 have publicly declared their assets and liabilities. This comes to just 12.35% of the total. 674 judges still have given no details. If you look at the breakup of this data, judges of Kerala and Himachal Pradesh High Courts actually stand out. In Kerala, out of a total of 44 judges, 41 assets. This comes to around 93%. Similarly, the judges of Himachal Pradesh High Court also stand out. Out of a total of 12, 11 have disclosed their assets, which is a strike rate of 91.66%. But let's take a look also at the other end of the spectrum. At the Chhattisgarh High Court, only 1 out of 16 judges have declared their assets, a measly 6.25%. The story is also similar at the Madras High Court, where the total number of judges stands at 65, yet only 5 have disclosed their assets, only a 7%. Not even 10% of the judges in the Madras High Court have come clean on their assets. Now come to the Delhi High Court, which is right at the root of this entire controversy. Here, only 7 out of 36 judges have made their assets public. This comes to just about 20%. But these low numbers are just one part of the problem. Crucially, this information is also not updated, as some of these declarations were made way back in February 2010. Until now, asset declaration of judges, remember, has been entirely their discretion. Unlike other public servants, judges are not legally obligated to make their assets public. In 1997, the Supreme Court adopted the Restatement of Values of Judicial Life Resolution. Under this, High Court judges were asked to submit the information to their respective Chief Justices. But this information was not available for public scrutiny. You and I can't know what they told. Also, this disclosure was made voluntary. In 2005, when the Right to Information Act was enacted, it exempted disclosure of personal information of judges unless it was a case of larger public interest. Then in 2009, the Supreme Court decided that judges' assets could be published on the website, but with their consent. It would be entirely voluntary. In 2023 August, a report titled Judicial Processes and Their Reforms was presented by a parliamentary standing committee. That report called for legislative changes to make annual asset declarations compulsory for all judges of the High Court and of the Supreme Court. The report said that this would go a long way in improving transparency and accountability. Steps to implement this report, however, are still awaited. Right now, this is the most prevalent conversation, not just in the judiciary, but also in every living room. Will the judges of all our courts really open themselves up to scrutiny? Because Caesar's wife, as do the judges of our courts, should be above all contempt. That's it then on today's edition of In Your Interest. Thanks very much for having tuned in. I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Keep the appointment.
Smash your way to glory at the News 9 Corporate Badminton Championship. Get ready for the ultimate badminton showdown. News 9 presents the biggest corporate championship, a battle of skill, speed and